Hi, welcome to Friday Night Chats. Unfortunately, it is Sunday morning. This week got away from me. It was basically because I had Friday off and I went somewhere and it ended up taking me all day. I explained that in another video. I didn't get home till 8 at night and I was actually really tired. So I didn't make my video. And then Saturday I made 2 videos. Each of those videos had 3 parts each. So it was like making 6 videos. That's how I cram a lot of content. I just put 3 in one. And then that left today. And in fact, in a couple hours, I'm going to be interviewed for the first time. So Damien at Sleepy Reader 666 is getting the scoop. He bagged or nabbed Garage Geek. So stay tuned for that interview. It's going to be on Sleepy Reader 666's channel. But I know you're going to all want to see, me interviewed. I mean, why wouldn't you? I said that once in an interview and it didn't go well. We don't need to dwell on that, but I could tell you about it if you want. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of internet things. Sorry, not internet, YouTube. Rick and Records contest is doing really well. He started at 150 and his contest is called Double Down. And he wants to get to 300 and he's already at around 210. So he's already gained 60 and he needs about, 90 more. But he's doing well. So if you're watching this, please go to Rick and Records and watch one of his videos, even if you've subbed. If you don't do it often, I know a lot of my viewers also love Rick and Records. I mean, it's a great channel. He has a great channel. He's in his vinylarium. It's really funny because I'm starting to see other channels mimic that. It's funny. I mimic it. I'm like in the garagarium. I just saw This Is Music did his and he did his in his. I don't know if he said vinylarium, but he said something to the same effect. So it's interesting that Rick and Records, your little opening catchphrase is catching on. I love it. Then the other one that I wanted to mention was, Rick and Records. Oh, Larry at Larry's Library. He started a new channel and he has so far 1 video and it's called Larry's World. And he unboxed a flashlight. Okay, sorry, Larry. That's hysterical. You know what? I'm going to watch whatever you do. Like, if there's a YouTuber and I like you, I don't care what you do on your channel. I'm going to follow you, right? I'm going to watch what you do. But unboxing a flashlight. Listen, it's Larry's Library and he has a flashlight fetish. That's a lot of alliteration. Larry's Library's flashlight fetish. I feel like I'm in a late 1960s Marvel comic. But anyways, please go show Larry some support and watch his flashlight unboxing. No, seriously, Larry, I'm going to watch whatever you do. And I look forward to that. And you know what? Honestly, buying flashlights and that kind of thing, he likes things that are very technical. And he describes like the BTUs and, all that kind of stuff. And I know that when I went, I told him I had to buy the lamps for camping. And you kind of you wear them like a headband and you put them here. And, I had to go to the RTI, right? The store here. It's like a chain. And I had to pick them out. And I'm telling you, I had no idea. And I had to, use price, and I did ask the person there to help me pick one because there's like a wall of them and you're like, huh? And so these kind of things, it's helpful. And the thing about it is my husband now uses it all the time, not for camping. Like when he goes into our attic, he'll put it on and to get boxes out for Christmas or Halloween or whatever. So he uses it various times. So I think I've gone on long enough, Larry's World. How about your flashlight fetish? We're going to move on. Okay, so that's what's happening in the world of YouTube. All sorts of words put out a controversial video, and he already has a bunch of views. So he reviewed very negatively a show on TV, and I totally understand why he did it. He loves this anime show, One Piece. Like it's his a holy Bible almost. He just loves it so much that he even went to Japan to go to the museum. So I could totally understand that, right? I mean, I'm a garage geek, and he's all sorts of words nerd. So I mean, it totally makes sense. So when he was so excited about the live action version of the show, he was very let down. You know, he had very, very high expectations. They totally changed it, and for him, it was like desecrating something that he really loved. But go ahead and watch it, because he's also, you know, responding to people. So for him, I think this is really good, because since he's such a new channel, he's getting a lot of views, and this is going to bolster his channel quickly. So that's really cool. Here we go. Let's go to my my pictures. I have some pictures to show you. Sorry, you get to see my bald head as I'm looking down. All right, so we're going to start with the shows I'm watching. So I am watching the show Suits. I started watching it because they're showing a promo where these two are interviewing this guy is in, they're lawyers. This guy is interviewing this guy, and this guy has a photographic memory. And I thought, oh, that's really intriguing. So I started watching the show, and I'm actually really enjoying it. The characters are fun. I'm only in season 1. There's not that many episodes per season. I think it's like an average of 16. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. And then I didn't realize that that's Meghan Markle. And I was like, Meghan Markle, I know that name. So she's the one that got married to British royalty. Here's another picture of the cast of Suits. This has almost everyone, including this guy is like a real sleazebag, but he's like endearing and sleazy all within the same episode. It's kind of an interesting character, to be honest. And this woman as a secretary, she's really good too. So I'm really starting to get into the show and the characters, and I'm only in season 1. I'm continuing with Quantum Leap. Now, what I have to say about Quantum Leap is it is what you would expect, right? I was very excited about this because it's sci-fi, and I figured it's a new sci-fi, so it's going to have a lot of interesting special effects. But to be honest, it's pretty average, and he's jumping from body to body, and man, I wish they would make an R-rated cable version of this show where he like has to leap in. Like, what about he leaps into the body of a victim of a serial killer, and you know he's got to get her out of that situation, or maybe he has to leap into a serial killer, and his job is he actually has to kill somebody in order to, you know, fix time. I mean, they could take this in so many crazy, interesting directions. They are starting to play with sex roles in it, but not enough. And there's actually a trans character on the show that's really interesting, but I'm still going to say that so far the show is quite average. I'm going to stick with it just because I'm, you know, once I start watching the show, I kind of get invested in it, and I want to see where it goes. But I don't think I like it enough that I could recommend it to my garage army out there. I'm continuing with the new season of Foundation, and I don't know what to say about this show. Like, I absolutely love it. The first season is, without a doubt, amazing sci-fi. Now, this one doesn't introduce any really more new concepts. It just builds on what season 1 has to offer. But the last 2 episodes did end with cliffhangers, and I'm just saying that I'm along for the ride, and I really enjoy the world building that this has done. And the acting is solid. The characters are interesting. I'm digging it. Then the final show that I'm watching on a weekly basis is, oh my gosh, I downloaded a picture, but I must have forgotten to transfer it to my Sorry about that, everybody. And that's Invasion. The picture was kind of cool too. So it's a new season. I had some gripes about it because it was very character centered. It didn't have too many special effects. But I'm gonna say that, for what it is, I'm really enjoying it, and it's season 2 is more of the same. I think they do have more special effects and more alien stuff in this season. So I'm just looking to see where it goes. I wouldn't say it's a bad show by any means, but I wouldn't suspect that most people who start watching the show would continue with it. But I like it enough that I am. All right, movies. Here was a big one. I watched The Flash. I absolutely loved it. Now, it's getting horrible reviews online, and I'm just like, what? And I guess it's all centered around the controversy of the main character, what he did in real life. The movie's great. In fact, the baby shower scene had me laughing, and that's near the beginning of the movie. Like, I'm not going to explain what that is, but the baby shower scene cracked me up. Just how they can manipulate time and characters, and there's an homage near the end that is so amazing. And then there's this heart-wrenching scene near the end as well. I'm not going to give any spoilers. I think this movie is well worth watching. Now, I get it. Some people won't want to watch it because of the controversy. I get it, right? I really do. But you are missing out if you're a sci-fi fan, if you like superhero movies. A lot of DC superhero movies get a really bad rap. So, for example, All Sorts of Words said he hated the movie Man of Steel, like absolutely hated it. I thought it was a good movie. It was a little overlong and slightly boring in parts, but otherwise it was a solid movie. And I don't understand why the DC movies get so much hate. There have been a couple of dud Marvel movies, but anyways, this one's a good one. I'd love to hear in the comments, like, if you're someone who won't watch this movie at all because of the main character. I have a feeling that's going to be Ben Rankins. Ben Rankins, is that you? I think that you are probably one of the people like, I will never watch that movie because of Ezra Miller and what he did, blah, 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 blah. I want to hear that. I want to know why. If you've seen this and you don't like this, would you please write that in the comments as well? This is a give and take of ideas. My opinion, although my opinion is important and very, perfect, and it's, iconic, I will, listen to other people and what they have to say and disregard it. No, I'm just joking. I do like the back and forth that YouTube provides. So I really would like to know what people think about this movie. And even if you won't watch it, like I said, please tell me why. Another movie that I watched, the rest of them were, what do you call them? Like B movies. So the first one is going to be this movie, Werewolves on Wheels. So here we go, Werewolves on Wheels. That poster makes it look so much better than it is. This movie is like super low budget. This is the actual album cover. If I've never seen this. Do any of you have this album in your collection? Like, I would love to own this album. I bet it's like really expensive. So here's another picture of Werewolves on Wheels. That, by the way, never happens in the movie. There's one werewolf at the end on a bike, and all the other ones are chasing him, and the humans are holding the torches. No, like, that actually makes the movie look interesting, but it few and far between. So it's basically about these like hell, basically bikers. They come across these Satanists, and the Satanists put a curse on them. And then for the rest of the movie, they're just riding around, and a couple of them turn into werewolves and, eat people or whatever. But it's like everything about it is bad, low budget. There's the vinyl. Yeah, That would be a fun thing to have in your collection. Okay, the next movie I saw, if you think that one was bad, wait till you get a load of this one. Mesa of Lost Women. This was an absolute turkey. Wow, was this a bad movie. Like, this wasn't a B movie. This was an F movie. So you've got Tarantella, and she's half tarantula, and she dances, and there's a scientist, and he wants to capture a doctor who got away from him, and there's a bunch of people running around the woods. There's all these like deformed people, and they work for the doctor, and it just makes no sense. Here it is again. Like, this poster makes it look like it's torrid. Like, that never happens. I don't remember any character having a shirt off. I think I would remember that. No. And then this scene, right, happens at the very end. It's like this giant, like, paper mache tarantula, and he, like, falls on a guy. And it's really funny because this guy at the death scene, he's, like, sitting there in this, like, paper mache ball. There's a fire, and this paper mache ball hits him in the face, and he goes, like, even though he's dead. It's pretty funny. And the tarantula's on top of him, and, you know, it's so fake looking. But that's the fun of these B movies. I mean, look at that. I mean, come on. That is a cool picture. I would frame that any day. I would love to find a print of that. For such a bad movie, like, look at that spider. Really does look like an extension of her. And what a cool picture that is. Oh, here's another one. I think that's probably like the DVD cover of it. Oh, yeah, the locations, they do walk through the desert at the beginning and toward the end, and that's very pretty. I've driven through places like that when I've gone across country, and it does evoke that. I got so many pictures of this really bad movie, Mesa of Lost Women. Now, look at her dress. This movie is in black and white, so you don't ever see that. Oh, but I have to tell you one thing about this movie. It's crazy. They have the most annoying music throughout this movie, and they play it on repeat, and it's this strumming flamenco guitar, and it goes over and over and over. And one of the reviewers said, by the end of the movie, you just want to kill yourself just to get away from the movie, because that's it. They play that sound over and over for like an hour and 15 minutes. So imagine being trapped. This has happened to me, actually. Being on It's a Small World After All, right? And you're like trapped in the car, and it like breaks down, but the music keeps going, and you're there for an hour. That's happened to me. You get the picture. All right. So those were the movies I watched. Now I'm going to talk about 4 books. Now, the first one that I have down here, well, I'll go all the way back because I saw the picture. I can't remember if I talked about Chapter House Dune. So I finished the last Dune book, and I actually want to do a separate, like a 3-in-1, where one of my segments is about the Dune books. So please let me know if you're interested in that. I'm very happy that I've made myself go through all of these books. And I know it sounds like a chore, and it kind of is. The writing is just wacky. The ideas are wacky. Everything is wacky. But this guy can write some powerful scenes. Like, all of a sudden, it's all like politics, people talking politics. Same thing. You're bad. I'm bad. We're fighting each other, but it's a battle of words. It's just going on and on. But then all of a sudden there will be this scene that like grips you. Like, that is so, like, you can't tear yourself away. He's a really good writer in that sense. So if you're interested in that, I would like to do that. Let me know in the comments. I started this series. So this is a series that I never listened to or ever read. I don't think so. I might have read one when I was a kid. Okay. But I hate to say this, but this is more like for girls. Not that that should stop me, right? But, as a kid, I probably started reading it, and then I wasn't very interested in it. So this is the first book. I already have the second book ready to go, which is called Farmer Boy. So I'm going to go through this series. I think this is my my time of series. I got about 5 series in my queue. In fact, Chapter House Dune was one. I finished that. Little House in the Big Woods is another one. I'm going to talk about a Parker novel, so that's another series that I'm in. And then I also have Elric. I'm starting the Elric series, and that was because of, I believe that was because of Larry's Library. Like he reviewed a comic of Elric, and I had read all the Elric books as a kid, and I loved them absolutely. But I'm gonna go ahead and revisit those. So what to say about this? Now, my friend, as a kid, she didn't like this because as a girl, she realized that, hey, why are all like the women having to cook and sew and the men get to go out and hunt? And so, yeah, in a sense, it's very sexist in that way. But I also think it's realistic of the time, right? So this is in many ways autobiographical, right? And so I think it would reflect what was actually going on. But what I didn't realize is that a lot of this book is procedural. Like, she goes into details about how they did things in their everyday life, which it's kind of Moby Dick in that way, right? So, for example, if they say, oh, we had to milk the cow, well, she'll give you like 2 pages of description of how they do it and what they do with the milk and how they churn it and everything. And I guess as a historical document, that's really interesting, right? So in one sense, this is like going to one of those like settlements where they like reenact everything, and so you're gonna watch like, hey, this is how we churn, and make butter, and like, but for what it was, I enjoyed it. Like, right, it's got so much hype around it, right? Because the TV show, and I grew up watching that as a kid. So it's really hard for me to divorce myself. So when I'm waiting for Nellie to pop up, but I'm wondering, because I think they move in the next book or in 2 books. But every time, they mention Laura, I'm thinking of Melissa Gilbert, right? So, I mean, it's hard to divorce myself from that. Another one that I read, here, we got to get rid of these. Werewolves and Mesas of Lost Women. Like, I'm scrolling all through. Okay, so I read another of the Stark books, and this one I think is the 8th or the 9th. Like, I'm reading them all in order. This one I thought not as good as the other ones, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It was certainly, it did all the same things that the other books did. It had the, Parker and what he was doing, and then he had, then it would switch to one of the villains of the story and talk about his. There are certainly really good moments in this book. Instead of a 5, I would give this a 4. Okay, that's still saying that this is an excellent book. I just think the other ones were better. So I don't even know why. It makes it sound like that this is a bad book. This is not. It's exciting. It's got all the crime. It's got different points of view of different criminals. It's got a weird and stylized location. This time they are attempting to rob an island casino. And yeah, it's very exciting. I am looking forward to the next book, which I've already got. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about is Frankenstein. So I finally went ahead and listened to Frankenstein. Now, I don't believe I've ever heard Frankenstein in my life or read it, which is so weird. So I finally did. And I'm going to say like the first fourth of this book was kind of a slog. But as soon as Frankenstein monster shows up, and the actor who did Frankenstein like changes his voice, he did a really good job. But that's the whole crux of the book. It's like Frankenstein, the creator, in fact, there's a line where he says, I'm guiltless. And, I'm thinking to myself, no, you're not, right? And so he brings a lot of what happens to him on himself. Right? I mean, it's not a spoiler. Like, basically, the Frankenstein monster, decimates his family. Uh, but he abandoned him, and even though he didn't realize it, when he had the chance to, welcome him back, he didn't do that. But when it transfers to Frankenstein and you hear the story from his point of view, it becomes really, really engaging. And from that point on, the book just ramps up. And the book is told in a series of letters and stories, like people telling stories to each other. So it's like, it's not epistolary in the complete sense. It starts that way, but it's in fact, there's going to be a point in the book where a person is telling a story and then another person tells a story within that story, and it's like layered that way. I'm so glad that I went ahead and finally read Frankenstein. And like I said, if you do read this, you're going to have to push your way through the first fourth. Right, it's very Victorian novel. And the thing was, one thing that was hard to get over is like, I kept thinking of the Hollywood versions of these movies, like where there's an Igor and he goes in and they're digging up bodies at night and they're like stitching together body parts, and I kept thinking of Abby Normal. That scene in Young Frankenstein is so hysterical with Marty Feldman. But anyways, those things, like, this is such a cultural icon. Like, it's really hard to separate yourself from what you already know. And to go into this with fresh eyes is very, very difficult. I tried, but these things kept popping up. And then I would say, wait, don't they need to go to the graveyard and get... they make it a point, I believe, in the book to never discuss how the process happened. I don't know why. And I'm wondering, like, this was I think the edited version. There is an unedited version, but it's not available in audio. So I actually need to research, like, what are the differences between the two? And I wonder if the unedited version, they have all that stuff. Maybe it was too gruesome for audiences, and that's why she had to cut it. But anyways, Frankenstein considered like the first sci-fi novel, and I think one of the first gothic horror novels, maybe. I know Otranto, I think, gets that. But anyways, Mary Shelley is like this pioneering female who did all this stuff, and like so many people are angry because so many men get the credit for all these things that she did. And there's an introduction to this book where she gives, first of all, they talk about her life, and man, she had it rough. And then there's an introduction in her own words, which is really interesting to this book. So there you have it, Garage Geek. I am under 30 minutes. This is my Friday night chat. So just, Profi told us that Rick and Records, we have to do is spin around 4 times, and you have to say a certain phrase, and we can go back to Friday night. So just do that and pretend this is Friday night, and this is your Friday night chats. I want to thank everybody for the support. I need to get ready for my interview. I'm gathering together visual aids, which I don't know if he wants that, but I'm going to be holding up visual aids. And I just want to thank everybody for the support, and I want to please leave comments if at all possible. I love interacting with all of you out there in YouTube land. All right, bye.